So, welcome to this last day of the week, last day of exploration. Um, and it's been a rich week, a lot of explore. I've been reading from Claudia's explorations on the theme of yesterday, and we could take the rest of the day discussing that, but we won't. We have 1 hour to be here. So anyway, thanks, Claudia, for your thoughts. I think we'll have a lot to think about during the weekend and far beyond on that. And I'm sure that Christopher will also give his impressions about that. So let's just sit and explore the theme, letting go. Is it an act of will? Christopher will guide us with his long, grounded, established wisdom. And yeah, I'm not going to extend my speech today as I've been doing through the week because I've noticed that I've been taking a lot of time. So by the end of this session, we'll have some time for Q&A, for your reflections. You can do that in the chat. You can also click on the little virtual hand and come on screen if that speaks to you. And last thing I will just mention again is dana, the practice of generosity. In this particular case is linked to the donations that Sangha Life thrives on, because it's the only resources we have to keep on these sessions and everything else we do. These sessions have been going through almost over 3 years. It started up with the COVID, and it's been growing. Numbers have been growing, Sangha has been growing, teachers have been growing. We have new teachers to come in for the next weeks. So yeah, it's so resourcing, it's so fulfilling, even for most of us being here so early hours, and for the teachers. But it is freely offered. It's based on what Martin calls the new heart-based economy. But the word economy is still there because it needs funds and resources to keep on. And as I said, we don't have any other funds. We don't do publicity or advertising. We don't have big sponsors. The Sangha is the big sponsor. Each and every one of you, with your participation, with your practice, with your ongoing steadiness within this Sangha. So whatever you feel drawn to donate is very much welcome. I will put the link on the chat. And again, the disclaimer is also valuable and part of this if you can't donate for many good reasons. Please stay with us and keep on, because that's what we're here for. It's an exchange. We do what we do so that everyone can be here, regardless the conditions. So, thank you for this week. Thank you for your practice. Please, as I said in the early greetings, let go of any plans you have for the day, for the weekend, which is very much ahead. and just take your seat and let's hear Christopher. Thank you.
Thank you, George, and for taking such good mindful care of us over the days. We have the final session this morning, and I'd just like to give very briefly, got the piece of paper here in front of me, of the day-by-day process and the theme for today. So on Monday morning, we explored what we hold on to, cling on to, and grasp around, which becomes problematic for us, and what are the causes and conditions that contribute to the problematic factor of human life: clinging, holding, controlling, being possessive, and so forth. And then the second, that means on Tuesday, we looked at looking at the relationship to letting go. Very easily, the mind slips into willpower. I must let go. I should let go. It's time I let go. That often doesn't work for us, and therefore letting go really is an outcome of practice, of insight, of understanding of a problematic situation which we let go of. We're not here to let go of everything there. I use the example of the Eightfold Path, and in that, what is to be sustained, cultivated, and developed. On the Wednesday, flowing on from the previous there, what is it that we need to understand in order to be able to move on from, to generate more space in our inner life, to let fade away, to let go of. So understanding is a key factor in a change of viewpoint. On Thursday, I took the understanding and self a little bit out of the picture. And what I had in mind here, as referred to yesterday, is life is in a constant state of letting go. You and I, in this process of communicating together, there is a letting go of the previous moment, what you might have been doing in this hour of your day. But there's a letting go which is going on through every moment. So something new comes in, nature naturally evolves, naturally changes. There is a letting go which is going on. And these are some of the challenges which we are faced with. And can we find a freedom in life, an authentic freedom in life, which is not tied to trying to be in the here and now, or tied to consciousness, or tied to just being, be with a capital B, but one which is embracing the movements of past, the changes, the present changes becoming the future, and so forth. And therefore, we find a timelessness in accommodation, in the embrace of. And that's our priority, and that's what letting go, understanding, is pointing to. And just in looking through the chat columns this morning, the one of the participants, Claudia, in making reference to the question I was asking about causes and conditions, reminded us of the unsatisfactory influence of the old on the present. What we carry, hold to, perhaps don't see, and lands in the present and affects our relationship, our view to the past, our view to the present, our view to the future. It's called karma. So karma is the unsatisfactory impact that goes on, which affects our self, so to speak, affects our activities, affects our relationship to goals, objects, and more there. So all of this is part of the exploration. So let's have a quiet minute or two together, and then I'll speak to you on this theme for this morning. There is a indispensable thread that runs through these teachings and well established prior to Gautama the Buddha. And I think it's worthwhile just to give you, if I may, a small reminder. So it's a sequence, one condition giving rise to the next. The sequence is listen, or it could be the reading experience. So in this case, it's listening. The second is that this becomes a condition or a cause for some reflection of some points after the listening. Second. Out of that, perhaps a little bit more clarity, insight, understanding may come. That's the third. We meditate on it. We chew it over. We, in our own way, quietly stay with it. As understanding goes deeper, which is the spiritual journey is all about going deeper, we come to a place where we accept the understanding which we have. Maybe more, of course. So, listen, reflect, meditate on, understand, accept. Please remember this sequence and process. If you find yourself too much in the intellectual, too much thinking, generate some space, go for the walk, employ your senses for seeing and hearing and so forth. And then when there's more calm and clarity, the process. Listening or reading experience, reflection, meditating on, staying, it means really staying with the theme, understanding, acceptance. This morning with you, I'd like to speak for a few minutes on the theme, and from that, the guided meditation and the Q&A. Let's have the quiet minute or two. Okay. So here is the situation of the field of human existence. In this field of existence in which we engage, in the multiplicity of ways that we touch upon, we might say the world consists of name and form, mentality, materiality, psychology, physicality. From the standpoint of human life, there is an inseparability about it. In the everyday world in which we live, the mental constructions and the physical constructions and the interpretation go together. Mind and matter, name and form, same thing here. So there is the identification of what is. The identification, there is this walla sitting in front of the screen, and there are the participants, the Sangha, listening. So there is the identification in which there is the specifics. The speaker, the listener, the screen, and of course, much, much more outside of us, which is, so to speak, holding it together. And we find ourselves living in a world of name and form. Name means the words we use to describe the situation of the form. And this becomes so significant to us, we grant this viewpoint in a way as the true reality. We recognize as well how easily, due to conditioning, the psychological, emotional, perhaps hereditary, genetic, or whatever, which, so to speak, lands on the name and form and in some way distorts it. It exaggerates it. In one way of looking, in a simplistic way of looking, but valuable, sometimes what lands on it is unhealthy, harmful, we might say bad, we might say trauma, we might say not good, not helpful, and that's moving and landing on the self, which lands on the object of interest, which could be oneself or something outside of ourself, or in the relationship, what we do. Not good, unhealthy, bad, impact of the old, called all of that's called karma. However, and this is the point with you this morning, never to underestimate the impact of the old in the name of the good. And so we might say, everyday language for the moment, oh, it's good to meditate. It's good to be mindful. It's good to be here listening, exploring, reflecting this morning. It's good to find out what a spiritual life might be about. It's good to look deeper into things. The Dharma is such a good thing in my life. All of which, there's the name and the form. There's some influence from the old of the good, the idea of the good. We might ask, where do the problems come from? Where do issues come from? Where does the good come from? Do you know what? We usually say, oh, the good comes, the idea of the good comes as a reaction to the not good. As a reaction to it. It might be equally as useful to say the not good comes from the good. It's a non-dual. The not good comes from the good. I'm quite sure that Russia, the West, Ukraine, Sudan, the civil war, Israeli government, Hamas, all identify with the idea what they are doing is good. They are on the right side. This is a good thing to do. And look at the outcome. So in a modest way, our challenge and practice is to be mindful and clear about the idea of the good and the idea of the not good. As it says in Genesis, thou shalt not bite off the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That exploration is once again seeing the impact. To take a more specific example, plenty of you are doing good things in terms of service to others, as an example. The holding to the idea, I am doing good, easily, gradually, in the passage of time, brings about some contraction around that. You're putting out lots of quote unquote good energy. You don't realize you're getting tired. People say, oh, you're doing such good work. You're so impressive, etc. to you. And all of that good becomes a pressure. And then one begins to feel more exhausted, tired, burnout, stress due to attachment to the good. We are looking for liberation. We are looking for a way of life of liberating ourselves, freeing up the being from being trapped in the duality of good and evil, good and not good, better and worse. That vigilance means we're not exhausting so much energy on good, and trying to go good and impress ourselves. We may not realize it, or impress other people. And freeing up the energy, liberating the energy, and using very mindfully the language, the name, the language, the words, the thought, the description, being very mindful, am I using it so much in the language of good and evil, right and wrong, good and not good? To be exceptionally clear about this, because the world's suffering is bound up with it. That includes ours. It's bound up in the belief, in the reactivity. Think of the judgmental mind. Oh, that's so good. This person is so bad. What this person, it's such a good thing to do. This is such an unsatisfactory, it's such a horrible thing to do. In the movement of that, the expressions of that, we can't see anything else but our view of right and wrong. Not to say there isn't any right and wrong, but it inhibits us from responding. We've made our mind up because of the past. So that, therefore, principle applies to all that which is dear to us. It might be called spirituality, meditation, practice, dharma, love, compassion, valuable words, important reminders, but remembering none of it is worth clinging and holding on to. Because the more we cling and hold on to, the more reaction when that isn't present, either in our life or in the life of others. Just want to give an example of this. My daughter Nashona runs a well-being center. She was faced with a significant challenge. You might put it in the language, is this good thing to do or not? So she receives invitations in the corporate world to offer mindfulness. Nothing unusual about that. This one was unusual. As soon as I tell you why, you'll understand. She received an invitation from a missile company producing armaments, which essentially missiles which the British government provide to other nations, including Israel, including Ukraine and elsewhere. And they said, would you like to come and offer a mindfulness course to our staff in the HR department of a missile company? Nishura and I had a conversation about this. First thought, no. Mindfulness can't be used in that way. But it's the moral high throne. It would not be good, whatever. And at one point of the discussion, I said to her, if I was asked, I would be there like a rocket, to use the metaphor. And we discussed it. And she went in with her team. She accepted the invitation. She made it very clear She is totally committed to non-violence. She made it clear that she takes part in demonstrations against what's going on in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe, and she doesn't support it. They need to be aware of this. The invitation still stayed, and they had some hours, the team there. Her first meditation, she gave a guided meditation as part of the mindfulness training for the staff. And the first one she gave was on ethics. That's my daughter, bless her. So sometimes the understanding comes in and the voice of authority comes in to go and engage and give some reminders about what ethics are about, what values are about, what concern and connectedness is all about, and offer a guided meditation right at the beginning. I use it as an example how easy it would be to get caught in being judgmental, right and wrong, refusing to engage. We, coming back to our situations as well, in the exploration of experiences, we are keeping a very sharp eye and ear open for the imprisonment in a way to a view, sometimes an ideology, and the willingness to have the trust to connect. Just recently, last week in fact, slightly political here, but I'm trying to make the point. They marked 80 years since the British Army, others, US Army and so forth, landed on the beaches of Normandy to push the Nazis out of France and elsewhere there. So there was a day to mark the bravery and the courage of all those who took part in this period of time. And in the past, Putin, president of Russia, was invited. They didn't invite him. I doubt if he would have come. And I thought to myself, oh, you foolish people, you missed an opportunity. You should have invited him. If he had come, perhaps you could have had some conversation together, some quiet meetings together. The world leaders were there, the Prime Minister of UK, the President of the United States, President Macron, Germany, and others. Why not invite, connect? So, is there anybody in your life that you are very judgmental about and perhaps need to take some steps to connect with? Let's walk the talk as much as we possibly can. In all of this exploration of not being identified with, it's got no relationship to rejection, and therefore a great freedom of life with its infinite potential is to really explore that which is healthy, wise, skillful, and that freedom. So we're not saying things are perfect, nor bad, imperfect. We're expressing a freedom which is an engagement with. And sometimes that freedom is also definitely to say yes to. Sometimes to protect children, family, situations, or whatever. Sometimes it is certainly necessary to say no to. That is a feature of the freedom. And since freedom is the infinite expansion of human potential there, sometimes we have closed the doors to another or to that which is in ourself there, and we need to open that doors to expand that freedom. Back to the question. Are there any areas of your life that you would benefit from being receptive and open to and exploring? Are there any areas of your life which you wish to need to develop, touch upon, connect with, etc.? So there's no view of the ego, of the self, which says, I got it. Even I got it, called liberation, called freedom. Once it's placed into the world of name and form, or name and formless, like freedom, we missed the point. We've made an it out of it. And therefore, in the relationship, it's not a situation of I got liberated, I got enlightened. It's already, in my view, a kind of box. Let's know liberation, which is not dependent on name and form, not dependent on mentality, materiality, not dependent on psychology, physicality, the physical world. It is not a rejection of it, but it is a recognition the constructs of the world, the constructs that we live with are not of themselves imprisoning. That includes the influences of karma, but it also includes the bare causes and conditions. They are not in themselves imprisoning. They don't have the power to obstruct liberation. We have the rather remarkable for our human life here. We have the power, the Buddha uses the word here, power. We have the power to see the emptiness of holding, clinging, neediness, desiring, craving, being possessive. We have the power to see the emptiness of it. That power to see the emptiness of reduces the impact of the old, as today's theme, this is good, that's not good. Reduce that, but the same power has the capacity to see that the bare causes and conditions are not problematic, not for liberation. And in fact, their expression is a kind of confirmation. In the question that was mentioned earlier, the West tends to take the view of a strong belief system, this is secular and religious, by the way, in what might be called a first cause viewpoint. Dharma teachings are not interested in the view of first cause. From the religious, it's called God, Yahweh, Allah, Brahma. The word, the name for the first cause, the form. And in secular scientific language, it's called the Big Bang. It gives this idea in the mind of a first cause. We do that. This person caused me so much suffering. Yes, responsibility. Yes, accountability. But what were the conditions that brought about this behavior? Including the politics. We point the finger. He, whoever he is, or the group, or the organization, or the government, is the first cause. It's a blind spot. We are expanding. We're looking at causes and conditions. So when you and I feel reactive, either about ourselves or about another or about society or whatever, and that reactivity is negativity, blame, fear, anxiety, worry, the karma. Can we step back and say, whoa, 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 wait a minute, this is all this unresolved stuff landing? And one comes back to the second major significant truth of life. The first is there is suffering in life. That's a truth. It's not an idea. You and I are not making it up. It's a truth, not just a view. It's a truth. Very clear with the teachings. And the second is there are causes and conditions. So if we can find just enough space, what are the causes, plural, and conditions which contribute to suffering? If I change the causes and conditions, just one or two, the whole suffering will collapse. And that frees us up. So there is a relationship, the freeing up of the being through seeing the emptiness of clinging and holding, or in today's theme, being identified with. And finally, in the English language, occurred to me one day, identity, I, self, or sometimes us, the nation state or whatever, us, the group, us, the missile makers, whatever. There is the identity with us or I. There is that which is not us, not I. There's a gap, and there is a separation which is there. And we say, whoa, this arose. We look into this arose, us and them, I and you, this and that. And we're interested in the deep. What brought this about? And in this interest in the deep, causes and conditions, we have a wonderful potential to understand quite easily, effortlessly, what an enlightened life is all about. We're human. We have power. We have potential. We have the capacity for infinite discoveries. Let's not waste the life. We're alive. There's consciousness. And in the infinity, and in the infinity of discoveries there, our short, modest existence called the movement between birth and death rather easily accommodated. That's what we're exploring. All right, a quiet minute and then some questions. All right. I'm going to grab the glasses. It's interesting with glasses. I read somewhere that they were invented in Italy in around the 13th century. Very useful one. And I noticed that myself with the passage of years, I think I wore my first glasses probably in my late 40s, and they were ones. Then in the late 50s, roughly, they went to 1.5. And then in the late 60s, just over a decade or so ago, they are up to 2. Seeing changes. Okay, I'll so I'm just having a run through. Clara asked me, was this arms company BA Systems? I have a dear friend who works there. I'll say no, because of the fact, but I hesitate to give the name because I haven't checked that with my daughter. Ruth says, I love this. We run up market plein air painting workshops, and they're largely peopled by well-off American ladies of a certain age. Many of them vote for Trump. We have had some amazing debates and friendships spring up around the table. One particular example was between an 80-year-old staunch Republican and a young gay man, because we're all united beneath our beliefs, our shared humanity, and our commitment to a love of beauty. Some debates have been very hot, but kindness wins out. Everyone goes home richer. Wow, nice one. Cool. Yep. If we could, for an argument to take place, it requires a minimum of 2 people. If one person is calm, clear, thoughtful, reflective, asking the right questions, that person is not in an argument. And in the lovely contrast, the staunch 80-year-old Republican and the young gay man finding meeting spots. We go home richer. One person, I wrote a critique on the psychology of power, referring to Donald Trump. And one good lady in the United States, she wrote to me a bit critical, fair enough, and said, I am a staunch supporter of Donald Trump. He is the greatest, a few years ago, the greatest president we have ever had. And I'm a deeply committed Buddhist, and I'm deeply committed to my mindfulness and meditation practices. takes a little while to accommodate that. But we might also say it of our other presidents and prime ministers as well. All right. The power of love is power, and so is patience. Yep, truly. Question: what does it mean to be fully awake, free as a human being? How does a free person see the world? We need the confirmation of it through the relationship to life. To be awake, to be free. It's the same meaning in the Dharma. And the indication of that is plenty of love, for sure, a capacity to handle challenging situations, a proper perspective on our own. The morning sunlight is coming through. Hang on. Nice. Cool. A genuine, authentic sense, not in every moment, of the freedom that life offers and reveals to us. And the comment of the Buddha when asked this question quite regularly, and one which I like very much, when he was asked, how can we know a person who is free, who is awake? And he said two things. One is one has to know the person a long time. Be careful of being vulnerable to immediate impressions. And secondly, how does a person handle a very challenging situation, either inwardly or outwardly? And that same principle applies to ourselves as well. Little or no suffering in life, happiness, lots of love, the ability to stay steady in the challenging situations. So the liberation is accompanied with wisdom. May you be fully liberated, fully awake, full of love and appreciating the infinite expanse of this, what we are participating in, all of us. I think I have strong moral values. Nice, good. I have a hard time sometimes to distinguish if I'm on the moral high throne or if I'm applying ethics to my thinking and behavior. How can I see and feel the difference? Strong moral values, and definitely a feature of the teachings called ethics, actually called values. That which we do not compromise, we stay true to throughout the life. If I may say, my whole life, I don't think I've ever supported war, as an example. But recognizing, and this is what Nika is pointing out here, there is a vulnerability to grasping on and the indication of the moral high throne, the thought and the voice and the written will be judgmental on others, reactive against others. negative, critical, in a dualistic kind of way. That's the signal of holding on to the moral high ground. How do we view and that apply to oneself? If we are holding on to the moral high ground with ourselves, and then we do something which kind of violates or abuses that moral high ground, that repressed judgmental mind will give ourselves an incredibly hard time. And the indication of that usually will be blaming, attacking ourselves, and guilt. Keep with the moral values. Stay true to them. They matter more than the dualism of good, bad, right, wrong, us and them. You see the suffering that has caused. All right. Oh, plenty of questions today. We could have a Saturday session here. I knew this was coming. Can you say a bit more, this is from Clara, about how the conditioned world is a confirmation of the unconditioned? I have not really understood this. I'm still hesitant. You might think, oh, Christopher, he's avoiding. Can understand if you think that. It is, like I said earlier, a statement is made. It's not about believing, it's about reflecting. Is the gap between the conditioned and the unconditioned a conceptual gap? Can this apparent difference between one and the other, so big, unconditioned and conditioned, whoa! Please reflect on it, meditate it, live the question, live it. Be patient. That's the love, as we heard just before. Be patient and just see something emerges. Don't hesitate. Read about it. If you get the chance, talk about it. Stay with it and see what emerges. And I will promise with the chat column, no, with the Substack post, I will definitely put in a response within, usually my one liner is inspired by the prophets here, within 40 days and 40 nights. But actually within a week or two. Hang in with it. So really, and so it's not an intellectual comprehension. One begins to understand something. Whoa. I'd ask people to think carefully about their use of words when responding, for example, remarks about others, quote unquote, clinging to a format. You, we don't actually know that. It's a projection and unhelpful. So sometimes, it's a valid point here, we want something to change. We want the form to change, the format, let's say, whatever it might be, to change. The person or persons, the organizer, whatever, quietly stay with the format. That quiet staying with the format is not necessarily an indication of clinging. It's a quiet staying with the format. And sometimes we need to listen to ourselves. Format needs to change when there's something, when the clinging and holding is going on and a tightness around it and a certain ideological viewpoint. We need to look at that more carefully. And still we may not change, but at least to communicate what we see as the benefits of it there, and keeping our being receptive to possible change. All in the world of exploration. So because the time has galloped, I am just going to take a couple of good minutes with you to speak about the donations. There is a kind of shift in the view. The shift in the view, some of us like me love it, is normally in a practical, down-to-earth way. We say, this is a payment for services. And you and I, in a whole variety of ways, in our daily life, for those who are providing a service, we pay for the service. The person who makes the charge, she, he, other, probably don't explain why the charge is what it is. And we pay. And so therefore we agree, either beforehand or before, during and after, to pay for the service. And then we receive the money. We pay, and if we are receiving the money for the payment, it's our money, and we can spend it as we wish. Normal, conventional viewpoint within the law, shall we say. Dana works differently. None of that applies. So in the act of the gift, in this case, many ways of the gift, obviously, this is the gift of the donation. Yeah. In the one who receives is not receiving payment, but a gift. It requires extra, we could say, respect. And what I mean by that, it's not, oh, it's my money now, I can do what I like with it. It's offered by the Sangha. It is very respectfully received, and it requires the ethics and the values to apply that money in ways which show love and care, using it wisely. Therefore, it is not for luxuries. It's certainly not for any kind of gambling. It's not for extravagance, because it's a gift, and one is really a kind of agent in the receiving and in the sharing and in the giving and in the payment for services and so forth. So the whole feeling tone of the beneficiary is one of care as an agent in the transition of the money, whatever it might be. Sometimes it's for savings. I'm talking about quoting the Buddha for a moment. Sometimes it's to spend on the necessities. 2. Sometimes it's to give support to the family. 3. I have the family. My granddaughter lives with me for the past 3 years, and the Shauna single mum and her work, giving support there. And fourthly, it is to save money for that which may occur in the future. And Fifth, it is the giving, the dana, to give to others. So we keep the principles there, we recognize what they are, and the Sangha knows in giving to support daily life, to support the family, to save money, to spend it wisely, carefully. That's the agreement that we have with each other. And huge thank you to your kindnesses. Huge thank you to Sangha Live, who put in so much work before you and I get together, so much work afterwards, and being there every morning for us, like George is for us, to support the technology of this can flow very freely. We're very, very grateful to have this international community. It would not be possible without Sangha Live. So bless the Sangha, bless all of you. If there are any questions, you can email to me and I'll respond to you. Wish you a lovely day with lots of love, lots of wisdom, and make sure you get some time for reflection, for meditation, for understanding, and for acceptance of that which you understand. Bye for now. Thank you.